It's here. We've got a text that maybe.
He's on his way.
Right. Hi, welcome everybody to the community development meeting for 10/15/2025, and we'll do a quick roll call here. We'll start with Mitch. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Mitch Stone, Assistant Town Manager.
Andrea Harbison, Town Councilor.
Matthew Bowers, Town Councilor.
Kennedy, live local.
Great. Do you want to wait until Dan gets here to talk? Yeah, let's wait a second. I don't have too much. The things I was wondering about, Andrea, is with the Route 2 safety metrics. I'd like to move forward
Yes.
with the next steps that we need to take back to the council. Basically, I think is what it is, and then the council will I think those are good steps, and then they'll take them back to town and see if we can implement those. And Mitch, this is kind of what I'm thinking about what I would recommend, but and you let me know what if this is even feasible or is doable. But I was thinking if we should do spot. It can be random. It could be like a Saturday, a Monday, and a Wednesday of every week in September, and then the first 2 weeks of October, just as our baseline. And what we would do is hopefully there's a way, and I don't know, I know that this is doable in the labs that I've worked with. I don't know if it's doable with this, but you take the data and then we just take we look at like the top 10% speeds over those days, right? And say, this is what we're looking at. This is how many of them we have over like over 45. Speed limit, and then this is kind of the average speed during this time. And then just because what we're really worried about is like the high speeders, and I'm more worried about like, let's say 5 in the morning till like 9 at night.
So
Does that make sense as a baseline?
I think what you're getting at right now.
Yeah.
Is a way to look at data.
That's right.
I think the question is about what are the matrix that you guys are looking at that are gonna say Route 2 is safe? What are the things that we can take the data and then figure out what our baseline is based on all the data we have.
Right.
To then solve for X, if you will.
Right, and that's all I'm saying, because like, I think in the end, what we want then is to come up with what we want to implement for next year to see those safety metrics
So I
get
get
better.
What I'm
Okay,
gonna
what would you
suggest
like?
like this, is that you're taking the step beyond where you need to go.
Okay, right.
What you need to tell us is.
Yeah.
What are the safety, what makes Route 2 safe? In your minds, what are the metrics that you want us to be the guide? So if it's, look, we don't want speeds over 45 miles.
Yep.
We don't want speeds over 45 miles an hour on Main Street Avenue.
Yep.
Okay, so then what we would then think about that and say, okay,
That's cool.
we're gonna put these things in place to see if we can bring that speed down. Use the data we have today that says there are 87 cars that are over 45 miles an hour. And now we go back a year later and we've done X, Y, and Z, and now we only have 10 cars that are, okay, that worked.
Yep.
But what's the matrix or pieces that you guys see as important ways to say, we've now made this safer, or this is what we're concerned about?
Yeah, these are the 2 things I personally would like to see is, have a significant lowering of speed over 45 miles an hour, actually over 35 miles an hour would be great for me. So might as well be more conservative that way and say over 35 miles an hour. And this is so then what we need to do is give a report. This is what we would suggest. We want to lower the not overall, because if you just take the averages, it'll be low. We already know that it's gonna not be that fast, because there's a lot of times when cars are going slow here. What I'm worried about is the people who are blowing in. So what we wanna do is not the overall speed, but we want to lower the number of speeders, is what I'm saying, like
How many
overall
speeders?
number
Yeah.
of speeders.
Okay,
Does that make sense, what I'm
So-
saying?
I'm trying to package this in a nice neat talking point, so. What I'm hearing you say is speed is a concern.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that you would.
Yeah.
Suggest as a matrix that we would find if we reduce speeds.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about numbers right now, but reduce speeds on
Yep.
Route 1, we feel like that is a metric that would make Route 2 safe.
Again, the problem is we do this, people start talking about averages, and the averages are not that helpful here. We're talking about the top 10%. We wanna lower the lower the speed of the top 10%.
Okay.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Right, it does,
It's
the other
not-
thing, the other
it's
thing
not
that you would
lowering-
play is there.
Yeah,
Yeah, there are times of the day that it's more
Right.
important that it's safe, so you're
Yeah.
saying, look.
5 in
only
the
we
morning
wanna-
to 9 or
Right.
5 in the morning to 11 at night, so.
Because I mean, at mid, and I'm not saying it's safe, but at midnight,
Yeah.
you probably have a higher chance of people going faster because there's less people. And then there's less people out, so I'm not saying it's not safe to do that, it's safe
Yeah.
to do that, I'm just saying. That may be less of a concern, so it's really about operating hours or if you do that, so narrowing that down to
Yeah,
say.
so like. When kids are going to school is obviously a priority, but
Yeah.
absolute priority, but anytime there's pedestrians, cycling and walking. Which is basically 5 in the morning until probably about 10 at night. Okay, because, yeah, I don't know, what do you think, Dan?
We're talking about,
Like, what are we gonna bring to the council and say this is what we want you guys to approve so that we can take it back to the town when it comes to route to metrics and Mitch is telling me that giving them specifics on how we look at the data isn't important, it's what do we want to see happen.
We have the data.
Yeah.
We can manipulate the data to figure out what that is, I'm saying.
Yeah.
More about,
So
what do you want us to, what action do you
my
want to have?
priority,
So my question
Yeah.
is, cause like Mitch just said, we received data, we get data from Chief Merrill.
Yeah.
Are we now at the point where we start saying, okay, this is what I'd like to see constructed or done to Route 2, as
So-
far as like.
So what I would suggest is that you're gonna give us the metric.
then
I'm
you
gonna
guys.
use a speed. 45, we want nobody speeding over 45.
Right.
Staff is then gonna take that and say, okay, what are our options? What are ways that we can see to reduce this, okay? Here are, and we'll probably come back with you with a plan that says. Look, what we're going to implement right now is. A speeding duty that is gonna happen all the time, and especially in those hours that you're gonna do it, whenever we've decided that's gonna happen. We're gonna run that for this, and then we're gonna look at the data. And see if that's effective, if it hasn't, or maybe it's, hey, we really think that putting in the summer or right in the spring. Winter's tough because of plowing, putting some sort of median divide. Temporary things that make people slow down when they come into this area.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I would define.
Yep.
What area you're trying to slow it down, the whole of Route 2? From
Basically.
this place to this place.
Yeah, Kelly Road all the way past the, what is it, the Grove?
the sidewalks, yeah.
Because that's where our pedestrians are.
So when you, but I guess what I'm
Yeah.
saying
And I
is
think
that,
our two big spots are coming down the hill here and coming down the hill just before you enter the
Right.
bridge.
so the narrower you can make that, the easier it is for us to be able, because we can replicate.
With hotspots.
So if all of a sudden we've looked at these two hotspots and we've been able to erase 90% of the 45-mile-an-hour speeders, we can replicate that in a different area. To say, well, we know this works, we're gonna pull it out here further and slow it down here. I think. Looking at the whole corridor, you got different speeds, you got different traffic patterns, you got different things, that's a harder. To bring it all down at once, so I
No,
think
I know.
trying,
And I'm not,
yeah,
again, so for me, the way I look at this is an ongoing process,
Yep.
this isn't something that necessarily. We chip away and we make it safer every year until we're considered the safest pedestrian town in all of Maine, that's my understanding, and we don't know what will work, we don't try things, right? And we might try things and they don't work, but that isn't, to me, that's not unsuccessful, that's a success, saying, well, that didn't work, let's not do that, right? Again,
Right.
let's move.
So I just heard
Does that
it
make
all.
sense?
I just
Yeah.
heard it all, that's
Yeah.
gonna help us.
Yeah.
You just said,
I
we
want-
wanna be the safest pedestrian
That is,
street in all of Maine,
yep,
define that. What is the safest pedestrian street in all of Maine?
yeah, I guess. For me, it would be, it's not, obviously, we don't wanna have any pedestrian deaths, right, which we are not having, which is great. But for me, the safest would be, the way I would define it is by, the number of speeders. And also that people stop at all of our crosswalks when people are ready to walk, like that is just becomes a habit for everybody in town, that like if somebody is there on the curb looking at the crosswalk, that they gotta stop. Those are the two things that I think would make safety. And then I'd have to talk to bicyclists, 'cause I bicycle here, but I'm an aggressive, not aggressive in the terms that I follow the law, but I feel like it's safer for me to get right in the middle of the street and make everybody see me than for me to try and stay out of traffic. So I'm aggressive that way as a cyclist. Like when I come into downtown, I go right down the street, right the middle of the street, because I know if I hug that curb going through downtown, somebody's gonna try and pass me and they're more likely to clip me, or my pedal's gonna clip these, the curbs that are this high, and I'd rather have them forced to follow the law and go 10 miles an hour behind me and beep at me than to actually try and get around me. So I'm aggressive that way, but I don't know what other
No, it's
cyclists are.
7 to 8-year-olds who aren't.
Yeah.
And adult, there are a lot of adults who are
Right.
more comfortable getting
Yeah.
into, working in and out of traffic. The Rotary
Yeah.
in town, but it's the kids.
Yeah.
I want any kid that can.
Yeah.
Is in walking distance of the schools or the library.
Be able to bike and
To be
feel,
able to bike and walk with,
and their parents feel relatively safe about it.
Yeah. And for me, I do think it's, I do think those hotspots are coming down this hill over here.
Yep.
After Ledbetter's, in front of your house, and I think.
Yep.
You're coming down the hill from the light is
Yep.
just, you've got people crossing on that, and particularly the Stillwater, the Stillwater Trail, are particularly bad. I think that's spot.
And I would say a hot spot too, not because of necessarily the traffic, but just because we have so many kids walking, is basically from Westwood to Pine Street, because a lot of them go to the library, or they
Yeah.
come back from the libraries.
So would it be safe to say in this conversation that the hill,
Yep.
let's say Ledbetter's.
Yep.
To the bridge.
Yep.
Is a focal point.
Yep.
So we've got a
Yeah.
focal point right
Yeah.
now to look at where we would be wanting to make a change.
Yes.
Want to be like a hockey night every night.
Okay.
Like that's what it is.
So Ledbetter is for the bridge,
Yeah.
okay?
And you said 35, but I want 30 in that there.
That makes sense.
So. Okay, well, I would always
Is it
get
25?
attainable goal.
Yeah,
No, I-
So I just wanna be, I mean, you're talking about 5 miles over the posted speed limit, which I agree, I'm not saying that people should be going over the speed limit. But you're also talking about, what I'm hearing him say is not averages.
I wanna see the top 10% speed, which can be anywhere from, 45 to 50, go from, whatever, 30 to 40 people a day down to like 10 or lower, see that lowering, whatever it is we're doing, we're getting less of those people blowing through, that's what I'm
So those are,
saying.
yeah, the outliers.
That's part of it,
So
right,
you
that
can-
outliers are dangerous,
Yeah.
like if. We can have 40 grandmothers going by at 15 miles an hour, and you have 40 people blowing in at 50, and they average out to 30 miles an hour, and that's not safe.
Yep.
I still want to lower the overall of a number, whatever we say, whatever we make that cutoff, if it's 30 or 35.
Yeah.
We wanna see the actual numbers of those people come down. Right?
Okay.
So if there's like 200 of those a day, we wanna see that come down.
And so let's,
And the success of it is dependent on the amount of those that come down. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The whole success of it is.
100%, so what I'm hearing you say is that
Yeah.
you're talking about not averages, but individual speeds.
Yep.
Those that are over.
Yeah.
Not quite determined yet, I've heard 30, I've heard 35, but anything over that.
Yeah.
Now. When in terms of success, I like goals, and it's helpful.
I would
Saying
shoot
that you
for
reach them.
the
Is that
first year.
We have a 20% decrease in that number, we have a 2% decrease
As
in
a
that number.
scientist, 50% increase is huge, and I would love to have that be our goal for the first year. And
50% decrease.
What if we
in the
do-
numbers of those.
6 months, because it,
Yeah.
we'll see it in 6 months and then we can.
I said that.
Adjust
So
it
you're
for
saying,
next
we're gonna be here and say, okay, we haven't seen, cause the other thing that's gonna come out of this is that. Some of this is trial and error, and
Yeah,
there's no
absolutely. Yeah.
magic science to
Yeah,
making
yeah.
people. If there was, we wouldn't have anybody speaking, but there's no magic science to slowing people down.
Right.
Cause it's very individual and it's you know, so many different people, so. I think some of this is gonna be a little bit of trial and error, but what would help is that if we had a number.
Right.
And we said, okay. We're good with reducing that, and I'm just using
Right.
this number, 20%.
Right.
Okay, and we do patrols and all of a sudden it drops 20%, okay, that works here. So if we replicate that other places, we should be getting the same thing. Or if it's the strips in the middle, or if it's speed bumps, whatever they are, right?
Right.
Okay, that reduces it by this number or greater, that's good,
Yeah,
because we can take that, okay, we did this for 6 months.
yeah,
There was nothing, you know, then we got 10%, that's,
right,
you know.
yeah.
Can I talk about defining it for a second?
Yeah.
So if we look at the quintiles.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if the data can be broken down this way, but if we take the fastest quintile, so
Yeah.
20% of travelers.
Yeah.
Whatever, and find whatever that average is.
Yeah. That's usually what's
Yeah,
statics.
and then. You know, target that number, cause I think
Yeah.
you and I think we all get the drivers that are going 40 and up, you know.
Yeah.
Are the ones that really got, you know,
Yeah.
really had people off, I
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I know. Andy,
Yeah.
when Andy
Yeah.
Garden or Jamie and I walk
Yeah.
the dog, you know, those people that are rumbling through it, 40
Yeah.
plus, are the ones that really get them fired up.
Yeah.
And they are extremely effective advocates, in my experience,
Yeah.
in terms of lobbying the council.
Yeah.
So. Maybe that's the number.
Yep.
And you know, if we.
I'm fine
If
with
we
that.
take the 20% quintile and at the hill, at the bottom of the hill after Ledbetter's, and say that speed is 37 miles an hour. So that's of the 20% of drivers who are driving the fastest through there, their average speed is 37. Can we drop it down to, you know,
Yeah.
20, some
Yeah.
percentage, a 20% decrease. I bet it's
Yeah,
higher
I-
than 37.
Yeah, I think we can look at it either way, we either take like the top number and try and actually get the numbers of those people down.
Yeah.
Which is what, or we can always, with the averages, it's always gets not totally weird, but that works, it's
Yeah.
just. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always gonna be somebody
Yeah.
whipping through here on a rocket ship on the way, you know, as long as, you know, this.
Yeah, either way, I'm fine with either way, whatever, Chief Merrill thinks would work, like the top 20%. And we lower a certain amount, or we take like some number, the top 20% number, and lower the actual numbers of those people. Below the static baseline or the average, we take the average of that top and then come back with more information, what is that? I guess with this, we'd have to know what the actual what that, you know, average is,
Yeah.
and then say we, you know.
So what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Is that you're looking for average speed at that sign at the bottom of the. Bottom of the hill of Ledbetter's, not
Yeah.
Ledbetter's, coming down into Main Street. Reducing that. Speed
The
by
top quintile,
The top
the top
20%.
yeah, so there's 20% that are going 42 miles an hour through there.
So,
The next 20% are going 37.
Okay.
The next 20 is going, you
Yeah.
know, 32. And then there's 20% that's going 27, and
Yeah.
then there's 20% that are going under the speed.
so what we are looking to do is take the top.
Yeah.
20%
Quintile, yeah.
quintile.
Yeah.
And reduce that number.
Yeah.
To whatever the next quintile is.
Oh, I like that.
That would be awesome.
I mean,
That would be incredible,
That could be a good.
that would be a great,
Is to say, now, I would
Yeah.
also advise you to set a
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Within these time parameters, cause like I said, no, I mean, like, we need this in 6 months, I mean, like, time to.
Yeah.
Just to
Yeah.
say, okay, the outliers are.
I would say
2 in the morning.
5 in the morning, 10 at night.
Also, on a year too.
Yeah. I mean, I think we look at this from a school year.
Yeah. I think our worst problems will be June and September. Like September in terms of like the amount of people are here and the amount of sunlight.
I think the heavy pedestrian, I mean, we really wanted to narrow in on it, right? I think the heavy pedestrian, thinking about the heavy pedestrian times. So I think people are walking to school between what, 6:30 or 7, between 7 and 9.
Yeah.
They're walking home between, 2:30 and 4. And then there's then there's like the evening,
Yeah, people out.
people are walking around. But I think that maybe it's from 9, maybe you can give it a break between 9 and 2, and you can give it. Problem in the morning is the kind of the traffic load slows down kind of naturally anyway.
Yeah.
With the crosswalk, so that's an interesting spot.
Yeah.
But it's that time of day where you don't have the natural, break, for
Right.
lack of a better term, on traffic speeds with the crossing guard and stuff like that, that it kind of. But I hate it from 4 to 7 or 8,
Yeah.
when people were out walking their dog,
That's
that's when you notice people, and the people
or
going home to their homes in Orono.
between 10 and about 2, it's the same.
Yeah.
Issue.
What do you think, Jack?
What data have we got from putting the speed bumps in 4%? Have we seen a reduction in speed? Have we got feedback? So we know that works.
They probably won't be with speed tables on Route 2.
Right.
Because it's a state road.
But what other, Mitch mentioned maybe doing like in the cones, an island, we kind of follow people, they see the cones and they gotta slow down.
Yeah,
So in Bangor, there are a couple of side streets that they've just set like it's not really a roundabout, but they've put that in the middle and traffic comes down, you do have to kind of swerve out. and around it. So there's
They have I don't know exactly what they call them, they're these flexible, and you see them in some, actually. Bangor by the mall, when you go past the mall and you're heading towards Buffalo Wild Wings, LV. They had that shift and they put those little markers in the middle of the road. If you put them there, it's automatically slows people down, because there's something in the middle. That, like when you go across a bridge and it gets narrow, you kind of slow down naturally. So that is, but those are really springtime, summertime.
Yeah.
Late fall, then they'd be removed because you can't really plow them.
Right.
So,
But if you had a center thing that just kind of spread.
but once again, I think the
We'll
answer
let
here
you guys
is that
figure
we can
those
come
out.
up with, I mean, we can work with. DOT and lots of different people to understand what are some of these things, but that would help us. Attain the goal or the metric that you are trying to attain. Your job is to set the metric, our job is to figure out how to make it happen.
Is this considered highway? Is this a highway or is this?
Route 2 here?
Yeah,
oh yeah,
so
Well, it's a state road, so.
so safest pedestrian state road in Maine. What do you like I go,
I don't think, I like that, I like setting direction.
Yeah.
Working.
alright, so we wanna lower the top quintile to the second quintile, that's a great goal, like I go.
Yeah, so the average of the top quintile would be reduced to the average of the second quintile.
Yeah.
From.
Yeah.
The Ledbetter Hill to the bridge.
And then ultimately. I think you wanna talk about where we have the ability to record that data.
Yeah.
So you're really talking about. We're gonna know that.
Yeah.
So you're gonna slow that down there, and the assumption is, once you've slowed it down there, people aren't then speeding up to go faster.
Well, I think,
That's helpful, yeah.
I just wanna
we
be
might
clear,
have to,
because
I know
people
we can move some of these, right? We may have to borrow one of these.
So you can move them, but they require a poll every time.
Yeah,
So where they are
Right.
right now, we would have, so, and
yeah,
once you get down here, I mean, where you are, once you
Yeah.
start to get down here with the lights and everything.
I'm just thinking if we
You're
would
not-
need to assess the bridge, we may
Yeah.
have to get that movable one for a few weeks to assess it.
Well, yeah,
Just this is an honest question, do you think that by the bottom of that hill, people are going 45 miles an hour?
they come ripping down that hill. I
Maybe
think
not 45,
With
but
one,
30
The
or
Ledbetter?
40,
No,
especially if
the
we,
Bridge.
the
if
bridge,
people hit
yeah.
the green lights and they're just,
I mean, it's not Broadway.
or they
but
get
they're
past
fast.
the,
And is this, I'm
Municipal building, and
asking
then they're like,
because, I
okay.
mean, I see it,
Yeah.
and I get it,
Yeah.
and I've walked here and I grew up here and I know this. Are we talking all the time? Are we talking, there are cars that do this?
The top quintile does,
Yep.
and
Right.
they're the ones that you're gonna hit.
Yep.
So I guess that those are some, right,
Different
yeah.
times each day,
And I'm,
and it doesn't really matter
right,
what time of day it's happening.
They're also coming, they can also come fast over the bridge off the island. And, you know, they get in the intersection of Mill Street intersection, and people are doing weird things. There's a crosswalk there that's really,
Yeah.
You know, it's a dangerous place to cross the road. I think it's probably the most dangerous place to cross the road, that
the one on the far side of the bridge or the one on this side?
right across from, right at Oak Street at Marsh Island,
Yeah.
because people
Yeah, yeah.
are spreading out, because the lanes are spreading out.
Yeah.
So you got people like, oh, I'm gonna make my, you know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna advantage myself by.
And then you
going
have
left.
Oak Street coming out and.
Yeah,
Yeah, I cross there, but I'm always like incredibly careful, and it's an angle.
so some of these seem very specific to areas.
Yeah.
So the metric at that area might be different than the metric at the side.
But that sign is great place right now.
the sign is great, but
Yeah.
I think in the
Yeah,
bottom.
Because what I'm hearing you say is that crosswalk is dangerous there. Is it the speed or is it the fact there's a crosswalk there?
It's the, yeah, it's the, there's, it's the
Oh,
speed,
Yeah, both, I
It's
mean,
both,
you've got
but-
people who don't stop for people that want to cross the road, and then you've got some people.
And
who
it's
cross
an
the
angle,
road
it's
and-
an angled crosswalk, it
So,
should not be an angle.
My question, and sometimes safety is accomplished by deletion, not addition. If there was no crosswalk there, and people cross at the top of the hill where there's a signalized intersection. Does that make it safer?
Yeah,
people are gonna cross
People
there,
are gonna cross.
they're gonna cross
They
there.
get to the Stillwater.
I'm not saying they're not gonna cross there, but if there was no crosswalk.
Would it make it safer? It might, I don't know, we need to
And I-
talk about that.
One of the things that we went through a few years ago was actually reducing crosswalks. Because with so many, it was causing problems, now I'll tell you, the big one was right here.
Yeah.
Here, one
I
here,
remember
and the
that.
reason that was dangerous. People were looking at the light,
Yeah,
they weren't paying attention to the, because it was so close to the light, and then you could cross at the light.
Yeah,
And I get the convenience,
if,
but at the same time,
yeah,
you know, so I guess what I'm saying is. That sometimes that seems like a crosswalk issue, not a, yes, speed is involved here.
but it is a
Always-
speed issue, especially for cyclists, cause holy.
yeah, and you
If
guys are at the bridge, yeah,
That bridge is
if you're on the bridge,
crazy, and there's somebody blowing, you have no, very little room.
Yeah,
and
you're not on the
it's a huge
sidewalk.
curve to
Yeah.
it's not like you can inch over unless you're on the curb.
So-
You're on the sidewalk.
How do we do this? This is a decision making time. We all love decisions. How do we do this? And is it in increments? I guess that's what I'm suggesting. I know that we can gather data. I know what you talked about 20th, I know we can work on that and there are ways to quantify.
I think,
So is that the first step?
I think the first step is here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, with the data and the, you know, you bring up the data and then come back to us with enforcement and any kind of investment
Yeah.
needs. Including investing in enforcement.
Yeah.
So I think this is first, but I think. If not. Concurrently, I think I'd like to see some sort of recommendation for the crossing down here at Oak Street.
Yeah.
That'll calm traffic. I mean, we could build out, we get 3.2 million coming in the state for this work. We could build out, you know, raised sidewalks out into the intersection, that give people, and build a pedestrian refuge. Oh, you wanna pull a fast one, get on Mill Street? No, you're gonna run in this island, this refuge. If you go to, I mean, I was in
Yeah.
Nashville. Last week, and there were, there's pedestrian refuges all over the place. They built these little islands in the middle of the lanes, you can just hang out there until.
And what it does too is it does what you were saying, it narrows the road, so everybody starts going slow, cause there's a refuge right in the middle of the road.
Yeah,
Right.
and it should be, you can build it, you know, like a V from both directions, so you build up space. Slow traffic down to give traffic the impression that you've got less space, a safe place for pedestrians, a flashy light. And you
The
build
bike-
out. and you
The bike
build a-
ramp goes.
So. I'm just gonna.
So are you
I'm gonna
asking
call
us
something
how,
out.
how, what do we want?
I just wanna call something out,
Yeah.
that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, you're now solving the problem.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know
Yeah.
we don't know. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
So we need to understand what is the metric that's there,
Well,
is it slowing traffic?
Maybe it's having a safe pedestrian.
So, and then I think we need to define that, what that is, cause everybody's gonna have, and I'm not thinking about just us here.
Right.
I mean, we're in this room and we understand it and we know.
Yeah.
But I mean, everybody else is gonna say, well, it's not safe to me.
Traffic calming and a safe pedestrian crosswalk is the bottom.
Yeah.
So well then identified there is a crosswalk there. We did signs and people, voters coming through this is a
Or to,
Yeah.
or to,
But
but like all crosswalks in Maine, it disappears.
Yeah.
Half the
Yeah.
time, and then, so that's the, and then one thing I do know. I have not had a single person, not a single one. Be angry of the flashy lights on Westwood, every single person I know, and I'm sure that there's some mad ones, maybe you guys could say. That they don't like it, but everybody loves that, they love that flashy light, anywhere we can. There's a couple of hot spots that I think. Something, it doesn't have to be those flashy lights, it could be pedestrian. Other things, but any time we make it safer. At the hot spots, and that is a hot spot in front of Marsh Island, and I know because. I know so many people, I know a lot of people who cross there, I know them personally, I cross there. Because I'm coming, I walk through the tough end, come out on Oak Street, and then the first thing you wanna do is then get onto the river. What are you gonna do, cross the road and go onto the?
Is that crosswalk that cuts across the street, is that an angle you said?
Yeah.
Why don't we just make it straight?
Yeah, that's one way, we'll let them solve it, but I would love to have that be a super.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be, I would say, whatever you guys come up with, I'd love to have that be super safe, because that will be a popular. Until we close down the walkway, that's gonna be a popular place to cross at, and I mean, unless the river walk is closed, that's gonna always be popular.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. That particular place to cross is gonna be popular, because everybody comes down that way from Noise, from New Haven. All along Dennock, they come down to the river, and then the first to get to downtown, walk over there. I guess it's because it's there, I guess if you take it away. But I do think that's a hot spot. That's my opinion.
So the goal then
Yeah.
is a plan for traffic calming and safe pedestrian crossing at the Oak Street.
Yeah.
Intersection.
Yes.
Okay, those two, okay, those,
Yeah. I think that's good, those two.
what about
Over the quick time.
Chad?
We haven't talked to Chad. I'm sure you're here for a reason.
No.
This was about the Route 2 corridor safety.
Okay. I wanna make sure.
But please, Chad, let us know about this.
Yeah, cause
So,
we
so,
also have to take that traffic calming and Orono stops into the neighborhoods.
Exactly, so I think, yeah, I think there's kind of the main corridors are important. And then we're gonna think about how.
right,
And safe.
so just to bring us back on we've got the thing that has been currently assigned to you. Is the safety metrics, which sounds like we're gonna have something that you're going to bring back. To discuss with council to say this is what we'd like to bring to staff
Yep,
to look at,
In the form of an order,
I think so. I mean, isn't that how we
Yeah.
do these things?
do you wanna put it on the agenda for that? Or do we wanna wait 2 weeks to give staff some time to kind of think about what the order should say before we?
maybe that makes some sense for us to figure out, to make sure that.
Yeah.
We're all on the same page, that would probably be a good idea, if you can.
This one time, yeah.
But so Dan,
Appreciate it.
you,
We have till noon on Thursday, yeah.
Do you? As one of you wanna write this up, or do you want me
I can write.
to write it up and send it to me, and then we'll, I'll bring it back and we'll talk
Yeah.
to staff just about. You know, what this looks like I said, time, so time of day is important, the safety, the speed stuff, I think that's important. And like I said, the hope is, if speed is the issue
Yeah, it helps a
there.
lot.
If we can figure out how to reduce it there, we can replicate that other places, but I think where we have the sign and we're able to do that. And once we know a tactic works we can then replicate that in a different place.
And is it always coming into town, or, I mean, people are firing it up on the way out of town too, right?
And what I would suggest is that probably on average, the problem is once you get to there, you're kind of heading out and probably, yes, they're going too fast, but with. Any sort of calming in that area, you're gonna get both ways.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, we understand we're only collecting it coming one way, but in reality, if I'm enforcing or if I make something in that area, you're going to affect both sides.
I don't think we should take this on now, these are two goals that I think are good, but I do at some point think that something has to be solved for the OBC. You know, something to get people from your guys' neighborhood over to OBC more safely and maybe with slow traffic down too, but that's in the future, we'll talk about that later. I like these two, sorry, I'm just talking off the top of my head.
No, yeah, I agree.
Well, I could stick outside the box, you mentioned, if you're coming up Route 2, the lead meadows, just before you come to the hill. You got that area of common, like an island, kind of like you mentioned, right there, with the no slower traffic, you're slowing them there before they come down that hill to the speed trap. Just trying to think outside the box of more notification before you come into town.
Yeah, I mean, certainly signs can be used.
How many people look at it too?
We, the more signs you have, the less people pay attention to, because it's overload, right, as you know. One of the things that we're looking at is we did put that second sign out, because we're trying to get how fast are people coming into town? And if they are in that area, I think it's 35.
It is 35.
Is it-
35 from the intersection of the Kelly Road intersection.
Yeah,
to-
so if we're seeing people at 35 there. Or an average right around 35 there, and they're still at 35, they're just never slowing down. If we're seeing speeds of 75 at that one, and we're getting them to slow down, but the problem is they're going way too fast here because they can't even get slow enough. So I think that was one of the reasons why we were looking at that data too, was to see what are people entering that.
Yeah.
That area at what speeds.
And I thought the temporary sign
Yeah, it was,
was a good,
Yep.
you know, for welcoming people back to town.
Yeah, I thought that was-
It had kind of a joint, a message of, you know, safety, but also, you know, entering a 25-mile-an-hour zone, so I thought that was helpful.
I do think we're in a pretty good time to be looking at this, especially the speed. You're right before Christmas, so you're gonna have a lull when the kids go away, or just traffic, not necessarily. There's a speeding problem, you're just gonna have a change in traffic because you get less. But if we take that over the winter and look at those, we'll be able to tell when the counts drop, you know. But it's a slower bike time because it is the winter.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna have less bikes.
Yep.
You're probably gonna have less pedestrians as well. So we're able to look at that and devise plans for, okay, this works as we come into the spring. To really either implement things that seem to be working more, or try new things before we get there. So the timing isn't really that bad to try to get out and try these things.
Well, we wanna bring things into the budget conversation,
Yeah.
so we need to, so if it is, if the proposal, we have an order at, not this council meeting,
Yeah.
but next council meeting. Directing.
Yeah.
Directing staff to develop a plan to accomplish these goals, we would be, that was gonna involve coming back to us in the budget discussions about whether we need more money for patrol, specialized patrols, more money for signage or infrastructure investments. Now, I wanna vote on a budget that includes stuff, budgets are your priorities, I wanna vote, that's policy.
Yeah.
I wanna vote on a budget that includes, you know, or stop stuff that we think is gonna make a difference, and this is just committee job working with staff to kind of make sure those are.
And like I said, I think we can, getting this information now allows us to try a few things so that we can. You know, then put in the budget, okay, we think these are, these are things that can make a difference to that.
Yeah.
It gives us enough time to be able to implement and give a true budget message.
alright, so I'll write the order and I'll send it out to you too, and you
Okay.
guys can decide if it has everything
Okay.
that we need, and then we'll send it to Mitch, and then Mitch will get and give us any, you know,
Yeah.
anything, and then we'll have it in 2 weeks on
Yeah.
the agenda, and the one other thing, Dan, that I think is really important, and I don't wanna take it up now, but I don't want us to forget, so I wanted to be on here, is that I do think the Stillwater speeds are an issue. I've been there, and that's a bad thing, and that's gonna be a fun, I think. I don't know if we need to get the town council to give it to us to look at officially. If so, then I'd like to have an order, having the town council asking us to look into
Why
that.
don't you ask the, do you wanna send, Clint and I and Amanda an email asking
Yeah.
for an order.
Yeah.
For Monday's agenda, because that doesn't involve, that's just that's an assignment issue.
Yeah,
That's
it's an
not-
assignment, it's not a
Yeah.
thing,
Okay.
alright, I'll email that tonight,
So if you get it to us before noon tomorrow, and you can, so that's, I
alright,
joke about it, but that's good, my clock is always.
yeah, no,
Marching backwards from noon on Thursday, because that's when, you know, we end up putting the agenda to bed.
email. Amanda. Clint, Dan.
Well, this would be good. This would be a very good result.
Stillwater.
Yeah.
Yep, I like it. Alright, we are done with the Route 2 and I was wondering if Chad would like speak on anything now that we're all here.
Well, my main concern is Route 2 is an important area, but. I live down in the Puff and I've been sending videos to unfortunately Dan. Steve Merrill, now manager, it's just been out of hand. I live right on the corner, I'm not sure if you're familiar, where Water Street comes down.
Yeah.
Curves and meets Broadway.
I know exactly where, I know exactly where you're at, I walked by it,
Yeah.
like
And there's cars,
every other day.
you look at Broadway, it's a long
Yep.
stretch. You have cars that are just trying to race. I holler at kids, I chase after kids, I'm getting tired of doing it. My wife and I will sit, we have a living room in our bedroom, master bedroom, we sit there. Numerous nights, kids almost like kids from
Yeah.
people coming down from Water Street and they go across the
Yeah,
grass.
that track and then. come
They
down that
get
hill, yeah.
momentum, they come around the corner. I challenge any of you, go on your personal car, go around the corner at 25 and meet another car, come around the corner at 25, it's possible. I'm just worried, like I said, that somebody's gonna get killed or hurt. My wife and I hardly park in our driveway anymore.
Yeah.
Cause tractor trailers coming down around the corner. Coming around, going out, as you get buyer, they're putting more apartments in. You'll probably see more congested traffic coming down, going around that corner because they probably want to take a right to the campus, they need to go this way. We find a lot of townies who live up close to this Pleasant Street that cuts across.
Yeah.
That will drive all the way down around,
So they get back to Pine Street,
all the way down around to Pine Street. And I'm like, why do you waste?
so they can use that light.
I don't know. Not sure.
So, I mean, I can see that as being an issue, me being there. Is this something that we would have to ask formally the town to look into on solutions for it? I mean, I know what my solution would be.
So
but
one
that's
of the
not
things
necessarily best for the town.
that I would say is, there is I guess we did a survey.
Yeah.
This group
Yeah.
was involved in a survey, they got kind of a list of things. And that's part of kind of what you guys are needing to do is work through that list and
Okay.
where you're going to start and the process at which that goes. So one of the things that could be done is prioritizing, looking at that list a little bit closer to prioritizing. Figure out
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
what the steps are, because I know that there was there were some problem spots, I think, I don't know if you actually did that, were part of that survey or actually.
I
that survey or not, but if not, it's not a big deal, we can just add that to it of a place. I will just add, and
Yeah.
I wanna say this is very small amount of data, we had the ability to put speed check for one day on Water Street at 33 Water Street. And the average speed there was 17 miles an hour. And there were only 2 that were over 25 and they were at 30. Now, one day, 24-hour period, I think it was like Tuesday, so it's not like. I don't know when these things happen.
Yep.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
in general, we did have the ability to do that, so we took backs up on that, and they were able to put something there for a day and look at it to give us an idea, because you had mentioned what those speeds. Now, I know the corner. 20 miles an hour on that corner would probably be way too fast.
Mhm.
But, the hard part is you've got a speed limit of 25 there, but the question is how do you solve?
What do you,
How do you solve that problem? And I don't know that's a question for today, I'm just saying
No,
that's
that's.
Something that we could ask the public works director to look into, because we have a similar corner, ours is with North Main turning into Penobscot, I think there's less of a. It's more T, but and I don't know that a yield sign would help, but something that. What the public works directors would suggest for like an immediate short-term
But, yeah,
possibility while we
My
look at.
history, this isn't for, I brought this to Sophie, Public Works Department before, so their solution was they put up 2 stop signs. Down there, right in the corner. Well, I would see police cars, just stop on the stop sign. So I emailed Sophie, said your stop signs aren't doing any good, if you're a Public Works police department, stop them, just roll through. First solution was to take the stop signs out. So this has been like banging my head against the wall. If you guys don't wanna worry about, I'm not gonna worry about that when somebody gets hurt,
Right.
so like that, I can't feel guilty. I mean, I have a guilty conscience knowing that some young child, and I tell kids now, don't play down this corner, it's not that I don't want you down here,
Right.
I don't want you to get hurt. Right.
what if we made it one way below James Street, or something like that?
Yes, that would, or. Making it.
That's
I like that idea.
more ecumenical than my solution.
Well, I joke with you guys, and I wasn't joking that much, I feel some, during the time we had an interim manager,
Mhm.
I drove down on my bike to see Chad and we talked about his corner. And I feel some town council guilt, because we had a conversation, I think some staff had some conversation with at that point. And it wasn't, weren't able to do something,
Mhm.
and I don't. I have a hard time with, there's gotta be a way to do something, particularly on roads we control. And I don't know if someone's got a more. I joked,
I
I
have a-
threatened to put a resolution closing the top end of vehicle traffic.
Right.
When we were emailing about this the last time Chad sent us the video, and. It's not. Unheard of, Dan American, to be talking to myself, third person, right, but I mean. Put something outlandish out there, so we can come back with something reasonable to do together. And maybe a one-way street or closure or something like that.
Yeah, that would be, like, I would love to have, this is which it shouldn't take my individual idea at all as what we should do, because it's probably a terrible idea, but I'd love to have one of those movable concrete barriers, just put at the end of it and say these streets are closed, and see what happens to the rest of the neighborhood for a while.
Because, I think the great idea, just,
Close it.
just close it, because you have people who are coming down to use that waterway down there, by, the new hydro station, there's, walk down there, the kayak. I worked hard, I built a garden, I have all kinds of dahlias, I had people slowing down and looking at them, people stopping, and when people are coming, I say, get out of the way, get off my fence.
But that's because I'm a pedestrian, so I'm all about like ruthless, so.
But I also don't wanna like make
Yeah.
Chad's problem James Street's problem.
Yeah,
No,
Yeah.
that's right.
So for those, everyone
Yeah.
watching who lives on James Street, Mill Street,
They
we're
would
not
be
looking to-
upset, yeah, that's my problem, that like. Like, let's try something and see how people like it, what if they love that, what if the rest of the neighborhood
We'll
loves
let it
it?
wait for a while, at least
Right.
gives us an ability to see what is the result is of that one-way traffic.
Because it's I mean, 5 years ago, there was a telephone pole right in front of our house. Guy came around the corner and smashed right into it, took that telephone pole, lost a lot of power. But there's many times, cars just come flying around the corner, and I'm worried they're gonna just shoot right into that telephone pole and.
But it sounds like one way all the way around, if you made it like, you made continued Mill Street, down Water Street, one way. Around Broadway and back up, doesn't seem like it would solve the problem, because people just have more incentive, to just drive more traffic. Through through that corner,
Right.
so there's gotta be something,
I think this is, again, something that we should. Well, it's up to you, Dan, because you've been on this a lot.
oh no, I'm not, it's not a
I
debate.
would have,
Well, I think the first step
I
is,
would have taught, I would bring this issue and see if there's solution, what the solution of the town.
the first step would be assigning this problem to the community development,
Okay,
right? I mean,
yeah,
unless it's on the list and you guys are working on the list and you've prioritized that list, which I don't think we've done yet.
all right, I will have that.
That would be
Also,
the,
One solution is traffic coming from Water Street around the corner is putting a curbing around that corner. Because a lot of times what happens with people, they're driving onto my lawn. So if you put a curb there, hopefully that will slow them down and see that as they come around that corner. There's a curb that starts right in my driveway that goes to east or west or, maybe that would deter them from going past.
Why don't you call it traffic calming, top end traffic calming?
Okay.
And we look at, maybe we could do something with the, ask the council to assign it to us. And then like we have a neighborhood meeting, like they did, that's how Forest Avenue happened, right?
Look, I don't. Chad, we've known each other a long time, so I want you to hear this clearly, I'm not minimizing that. One thing I will say to you is that we have this, we asked for a survey,
Right.
we've got a whole bunch of stuff and we've done nothing with anything on that survey. So. This could be the most prioritized thing on that survey.
So how do we, the three of us, get that list in front of us?
We have,
Put it on the next agenda?
Yeah, I would say that's probably the best thing to do is take that list and say, let's prioritize.
It's still
What's the-
water.
And it could be multiple things at once, I'm not saying that that's not it, but
But it's,
I just-
have a discussion.
we have put it out there. We've got feedback. We've not acted on anything, but we keep acting on new things.
oh, we're gonna act on some things, because I know for a fact that Oak Street thing is on there, I know. for a
Yeah.
fact.
Right.
Two is on there.
Yeah, well,
Still
right.
water is also on.
But I mean, I think those are the pieces that. Just so you have that prioritized, so it doesn't feel like, well, somebody just comes and talks about it, that's what we're gonna do, we have a process, we put it here.
Okay,
And that way we can work through that list and prioritize it, however you guys feel to prioritize.
we don't need council to tell us to work on a survey that we created.
No.
we put up in the community.
You don't need that, no, and that's what I'm saying, you may not need to do this, you may just say, we're gonna put that on a list. Of things, and we're gonna prioritize that list, and then you bring it back to council to say, these are what we prioritized and we're. Looking, we'd like staff to look at this and this and this for the budget. To figure out how we solve this, because I think that's the other piece, is that, again, yes, there's gonna be some budgetary challenges to solving these, at least a cost.
Why don't we, maybe what we do for the next meeting
Yep.
is take that list. And break it down by geography, so we can have some, maybe the top end is the first conversation, top end is Stillwater is the next meeting. And then I'm sure there's stuff in the Webster neighborhood that we could do, and elsewhere, but maybe we make a point of. Emphasizing the top end of Stillwater at our next meeting of that list, and I know. It's in our email, I'll dig it up and forward it back around, so we have the list, but there's good. Low hanging fruit on that list of things that.
Alright. Alright, so the next meeting agenda will be item 1, discuss the list. Okay, I don't know how I'm gonna say it, but that's what we're gonna do, we're gonna discuss that list.
Yeah.
And what we're gonna do about it.
Survey
And then
results.
item 2 is discuss the Stillwater, if we're getting. As we're
Okay,
to do, we'll discuss the Stillwater speeding and we'll also discuss the tough end
okay,
traffic calming priority, so it'll be 3 things that we can discuss.
as part of the survey or as part of
Is it on the survey? I don't know.
Well,
the stuff in the survey.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think what I will double check. With Clint, because I know there were other things that came along that were added to the list, so I will make sure that you guys have an updated list.
okay,
From that survey results and make sure that the top end issue, on Water Street is on that as well. And then you guys can move forward with how you want to
Right.
prioritize or work through this.
we'll discuss the list and how. we,
And to be fair,
approach
you
it.
might not even have to do the. Stillwater's on that list,
Yeah, it
you
is.
don't have to get a council order to put
No.
that on the
I feel
list.
like
Yeah, so you're gonna work through the survey list. Or anything we've added.
The only thing we need to ask the council for is the order. Not at this meeting, but 2 weeks from now,
Metrics.
the metrics that we wanna define and the goals we wanna set for. Two. That makes sense, man?
Okay, so the next, so I will email Amanda, Clint and Dan about an order or Route 2 metrics.
Yeah, but that's for the next meeting, council meeting, not
So you're gonna email that to these two
Yeah.
once you get.
I
it,
don't
and then to
worry
me.
about the Stillwater,
Yeah.
one. That was gonna be a priority, right?
Yeah, we'll take it down.
I'll take
That's
it.
that's on,
Yeah,
that's on the
we'll not
list.
discuss it as part of our list.
Survey.
Okay, so okay,
Sounds good.
I'm confused, so we're not doing the Stillwater order on Monday, we
No,
don't need that,
no,
because we already we already
Yeah,
have
it's-
maneuver
Yeah.
in the survey.
because of the survey. Alright, so here is. The next meeting agenda then will be at at least the this is proto, it'll be on there, but we're gonna change the agenda before that, but it'll have discuss the survey list and how we'll approach it.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say prioritize it, I'm just gonna say how we're gonna approach that list.
Okay.
And then we're gonna discuss the Stillwater, discuss Stillwater speeding. Speeding and then tough and traffic. Calming, alright, so those are the three things that we'll have, and the route to, and then yeah. I wanna,
Before then,
what,
will we meet before the? Those two?
no,
No, I don't, well, if we meet a month, what's our next?
No, it won't.
no, our next meeting will be the first Thursday of November. I
Okay,
think we have 2 meetings between now and then. We should have a meeting right before that.
okay,
The 20th and the 3rd.
The third we have.
If not,
Yeah.
we'll I'll, yeah,
I'll figure that out.
I'm gonna step out of the journey.
yep, we're adjourning, thank you guys.
Thanks, Deb.
Hey, thank you, Chad.
This meeting is.
Yeah, I love your house.
Oh.
Walk by.